In this example, we are given a formula for the revenue R that a company earns in dollars as a function of the price they charge P in dollars for one of its products. So given a price P, I can calculate how much revenue, that is, how much the company makes in sales from that product. And what we want to do is find the average rate of change of this function over the interval from P is equal to 5 to P is equal to 10. So this is an interval corresponding to inputs into the function. So this is an interval of price. So let's just recall, in general, the average rate of change. I'm going to indicate that with an ARC over, in this case, the interval from 5 to 10 is going to equal the total change in the output of this function, the total change in the revenue over the total change in the input, the total change in the price. So since my endpoint here is 10, that means I'm going to calculate the revenue at a price of $10 and then subtract from that the value of the output, the start of my interval when the price is $5, and then divide all of this by the total change in price, namely 10 minus 5. Okay, so in general, I get the change in F over the change in the input, in this case, the change in P. So we need to figure out what these values are for the revenue at the start and end points of our interval. So at the start, when P is equal to 5, the revenue, F of 5, is what I get when I plug this into the formula for the revenue. So 1,500 times 5 minus 50 times 5 squared, and that gives me 6,250. So this means if they charge $5 per unit, then their revenue from sales is going to be $6,250. Evaluating the revenue at the endpoint of this interval, when P is 10, we get 1,500 times 10 minus 50 times 10 squared, and that gives us a revenue of $10,000. So if they charge $10 per unit, then the amount of money they earn in sales is $10,000. And now we can calculate the average rate of change using these values. So the average rate of change over this interval is going to equal F of 10, which is 10,000, minus F of 5, which we calculated to be 6,250, all divided by 10 minus 5, the change in the price. And so simplifying the numerator and the denominator, we have 10,000 minus 6,250 gives us 3,750. That's the change in the revenue, divided by 5. That's the change in the price. And this gives us 750. And so to just take a second to think about what this tells us, the units of an average rate of change are units of output per unit of input. So this is $750 of revenue per dollar of price. Okay, and so although we're measuring the top and the bottom with dollars, these do not cancel out. One is measuring the amount of revenue and one is measuring the amount of price. So what this is telling us is that when we're dealing with the interval of price from $5 to $10, when we increase the price by $1, the revenue is going up by an average of $750 of revenue. Okay, and so this is not telling us that this change is constant, Some changes in price might lead to an increase of revenue of more than 750. Some increases in price by $1 might lead to an increase of revenue of less than 750. And so when we take the average of those increases, it comes out to an average of $750.